Attention listeners, mark your calendars for Colorado Gives Day on December 10th. Support Aftersight and give to the causes you care about. Go to coloradogivesday.org/organizations/aftersight between now and December 10th to make your donation. Hello, and welcome to your BLT Bite. I'm your host, Evan Starnes. In today's BLT Bite, I'm going to try my best to show you Audacity as a way to coincide with our full-on BLT episode that will be dropping on Wednesday on starting and maintaining a podcast. I cannot believe we actually haven't done an episode on that yet, but figured we could. You know, there's a lot of blind, low vision people out there interested in getting into podcasting. I mean, in general, there's a lot of people getting interested in podcasting. So figured we'd make an episode on at least what we do and maybe motivate some folks out there. Now, what I do when it comes to editing audio is all done, believe it or not, in Audacity. Now, Audacity, for those who don't know, is a free open-sourced digital audio workstation, or DAW. Some people call them even DAWs. So if you ever hear DAW or DAW, I'm referring to audio editing programs like Audacity. But it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux as well. But it's a great way, especially if you're wanting to kind of get your feet wet with audio production and editing, it's a great way to get started. It's how I got started and surprisingly how I still do most of my audio work. So I'm not going to go into super great detail with Audacity today. Rather, I wanted to just show you some of the basics, you know, what the main interface looks like and how to get around the three windows in Audacity. And also we'll do a little bit of basic editing, as I have recorded a little bit of a demo with some mistakes in it for the purposes of this BLT Bite. So now I've already gone ahead and of course installed Audacity. In fact, I've been using it for years on this computer, but if you have not installed Audacity on your computer before, you could always go and just Google search Audacity and you'll find it that way, or you can go directly to their website, which is www.audacityteam, all one word, .org, and you'll be able to find download links for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And installing it is pretty much just like installing any other program. And when you open it for the very first time, you're going to get a welcome to Audacity dialog that'll show you just where to access tutorials and I think where to install plugins and stuff. There is a do not show this message again checkbox that you can check, so that way that won't pop up every time you open Audacity. But yeah, that's something that I unfortunately cannot demonstrate because like I said, I've been using Audacity, but expect to see that when you open Audacity for the first time. All right, so I've got Audacity open on my computer and I've already got a piece of audio that I've recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and Alt-Tab back to the Audacity window and let's go ahead and take a look around.
Audacity row 1, column 2, Audacity, track view table, 1 audio, 1 row not selected.
And if you're hearing those little beeping sounds, that's an add-on for NVDA called Object Location Tones that I've installed. So it's going to sound a little weird. You're going to hear some beeps as I navigate around this particular window. Some people find it annoying. I find it really helpful. Completely unrelated though, and I can do a BLT Bite on that or any other NVDA add-on in the future if people like. So when you open Audacity, the first window that you're going to be in is the track view. So this is where your audio tracks live. And in this case, for this demo, we've only got one audio track. But if you were doing something like, making a podcast and you wanted to have a track for your intro music or hey, if you were using Riverside like we do, and it puts you and your guests and co-hosts or whatever on separate tracks, then you would have multiple tracks to work with, but we've only got one for the sole purposes of this demo here. And you can use the up and down arrows to move between your tracks. But since I've only got one, it just goes in my case. Now this is also the window where you can play back your audio, fast forward and rewind, and also record. And you can do some editing as well, but it's easier to edit using the second window, which I'll show you now. And to move between the three windows in Audacity, a very, very important keyboard shortcut that you're going to want to remember is Control plus F6.
Tempo edit 120.
So now we're in basically the selection window. So we have a tempo thing. So if you're editing music, you can work with, you can adjust that. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a little weird.
Upper time signature edit 4.
Yeah, you got time signatures.
Lower time signature
And these
combo
are kind
box
of
4.
and these are kind of recent additions as of the latest version of Audacity. But what we're here to worry about is actually a few tabs away.
Snap checkbox not checked. Audio position 00H00M00S.
That's really helpful. So if you are recording, this will allow you to see how far along you are in recording. If you're playing back an audio file, this will allow you to see how far into the audio file you are. And now we have
Selection toolbar setup button. Start 00H00M00.000S.
our start and end of selection here. And if you want to adjust any of these, what you can do is hit the left and right arrows to change whether you're adjusting hours, minutes, seconds, or whatever, and then use the up and down arrows to actually adjust the time here. Let's see.
00H 0
So I'm hitting the right arrow.
0 00M 0 0 00S 0.
So pretty simple stuff here. And then tab again.
And 00H00M00.000S.
So that's your end of selection. So you use those to the start and end of selection to select pieces of the audio that you want to make changes to, or if you want to delete them as well. And now this may sound pretty daunting, but it's a lot easier than it sounds.
Play at selected speed button.
That's a useful feature if you want to edit an audio at a quicker speed. So this won't change the actual final speed of the recording when you export it from Audacity. But it is a really good way to kind of do some speed editing, as I like to call it.
Playback speed slider 100.
And that's where you can adjust that playback speed.
Tempo edit 120. Play at
So if I hit play at selected speed and I adjust that, this is a test recording done for the purpose
of this BLT Bite. I'm going to make some intentional mistakes
101.
and edit blah, blah.
and edit them out and make this recording sound as good as possible.
And now I can make myself sound like I'm on helium too. So that's a really useful feature if you're editing, I use that a lot when editing longer pieces of audio like BLT episodes, to be honest. Let's go ahead and tab again here.
Tempo edit 120.
Now we're back to the tempo. But that's basically the window where you select audio. And if it's not super clear, hopefully it'll become more clear when I actually demonstrate how this works. But let's go ahead and actually show the last window here in Audacity with Control F6.
Audio setup button.
This is your toolbar, and this has a lot of useful little features here. So I'm right now focused on the audio setup button. So if you need to really quickly change your audio devices for playback and recording, press this button.
Context menu.
And you'll get a little menu that pops up, and then you can down arrow.
Host submenu H. Playback device submenu P.
So we can right arrow into that menu.
Speakers. Scarlett Solo USB. Check this. Playback recording device submenu up. Speakers.
Same with recording devices. And yes, this is a Scarlett Solo.
Recording device submenu R. Recording channel submenu C. Rescan audio devices E.
And that's really useful. That button is really useful if, let's say, you have Audacity open and you plug in something else like an audio interface or a USB microphone. That will basically refresh the list of available devices without having to completely restart Audacity. Let's go ahead and just tab here and kind of look around at the rest of these controls. And a lot of these controls do have keyboard shortcuts.
Share audio button. Record meter peak -3 dB button.
That's your record meter. And so these are fairly accessible. So
recording level slider 100%. Playback meter peak -0 dB button. Playback level slider 100%.
Change your playback volume.
Pause button not pressed. Play button not pressed. Skip the start button. Skip the end button. Record button. Enable looping button not. Selection tool button not pressed. Envelope tool button not pressed. Draw tool button not pressed.
And I will be honest, some of these tools, like the envelope tool, I have not gotten to work with NVDA or any screen readers, so not all of that is accessible, but there are workarounds.
Multi-tool button pressed. Zoom in button. Zoom out button. Zoom to selection button. Fit the width. Zoom toggle. Trim audio outside selection button.
So let's say you've selected something and you only want the audio that's in that selection. You can basically have it delete all of the audio outside of that.
Silence audio selection button. Undo button.
You have the undo button. Control Z does work.
Audio setup button.
And we're back to the audio setup button. So that's basically a very rough kind of overview of the three windows of Audacity. And now let's go ahead and go back to the main track view here.
Track view table. 1 audio, 1 row not selected.
And another thing that you heard it say is 1 audio, 1 row not selected. So that means the track has not been selected to be edited. If you want to select a track to edit, you push enter on it.
1 audio, 1 selected row.
And you can do that with multiple tracks. And you got to be careful though, because you can accidentally edit another track that you've accidentally had selected if you're working with multiple tracks. So by default in Audacity, if you want to play and stop your audio, it used to be space, but newer versions have made that shift plus space. However, I've gone ahead and reset it back to just the regular, just space. So now if I hit space, it's going to play my audio. This is a test recording done for the sole purpose of this BLT Bite. I'm going to make some intentional mistakes. Now, if I hit space again, it stops the audio. Now, in this window, you can also hit the left and right arrow while the audio is playing to quickly rewind and fast forward, basically. This is a test for mistakes. I'm going to bite. So I'm hitting Bite. I'm going to mistake, edit, and edit them. Basically hitting left and right and going through the file. You can also hit home and end to go to the start and end of a track. And if you'd like to record, by default, you can press the letter R in this window and it will immediately start recording on a new track. Now, let's say you're listening to an audio file and you get to something that you want to edit out and you want to put your focus on that particular piece. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play and we'll listen until I want to clear out the throat clearing sound first. So this is a test recording done for the sole purpose of this BLT Bite. I'm going to bite. Now, what I did is I heard the sound, I kind of backtracked a little bit to where I thought the start of the sound was, and I hit the letter X. Now, what X will do is it will stop playback where you are. It'll place your selection where you hit the letter X. So if I hit the spacebar now, you can tell it's on it started at the sound of me clearing my throat. Now, let's say we want to delete that. I'm going to go to the second window with Control F6.
Tempo edit 120.
And I'm going to go to the selection end here.
Audio select end 00H00M04.542S.
Now, I want you to I want to show you the start and end of selection really quick, just because it is kind of important.
Start 00H00M04.542S. End 00H00M04.542S.
Notice that they're both at the same value. That basically means that nothing's been selected. Now, since the focus is set before the sound we want to remove, we want to go ahead and adjust our end of selection here. So now, note if I
5245.
If I make a change to the selection here, I'm going to change just the milliseconds here.
04S 540 state 042.
So I've effectively just selected about half a second of audio. If I hit space, it's got most of it, but not all of it. So we're going to go ahead and hit the up arrow again.
442, 542.
And we've moved another 500 milliseconds. And now I've selected a little bit too much. So now we're going to hit the down arrow because you can still adjust the end of selection here.
432
So that's pretty much gotten the entire sound selected. Now, if you want to delete your selection, you just hit Control K. I'm going to make some intentional mistakes. And now it's deleted it. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the track view, and you can hit Control Shift F6 to go back a window. And I'm going to hit home to go to the start of the track and hit play. This is a test recording done for the sole purpose of this BLT Bite. I'm going to make some intentional mistakes and edit them out and make this recording sound as good as possible. So that's really the main fundamentals of at least very first getting started with Audacity. Now, what I would encourage anybody to do, especially if you're interested in learning Audacity, honestly, the way I learned Audacity and the way I would recommend people learn is literally by messing with it. And that might be anything from just finding really bad audio to, recording some of your own audio and then, going into the effects menu and trying out different effects and tools on your audio to see how it works. But that is the very, very basics of just getting started and kind of working your way around Audacity. It's not a tutorial, I'm not doing an editing tutorial or anything. Just kind of wanted to demonstrate at least somewhat of how I use Audacity and some of the specific techniques that I use to navigate around the program. But that's going to be a wrap for this week's BLT Bite. Be sure to schedule your donation for Colorado Gives Day on December 10th and help us reach our $15,000 goal at coloradogivesday.org/organizations/aftersight. With that being said, this has been your host, Evan Starnes. Thank you for joining us for this BLT Bite. I'll see you next time.